Welcome back, you scruffy-headed nerd herders. Episode 6, the Nerd Herd. A lot happened this week. So, Callan, break us down. What are we talking about?
What up, y'all? So I'm going to start with the Nintendo Direct announcement. It's just a quick update of what they were working on at Nintendo.
Not much.
Yeah, this could have been an email. They announced a new Star Wars game called Hunters. It was a brief, 15-second trailer. My prediction is that it's going to be like a Fortnite type of deal, because it's a free-to-play game. It has different classes. From the trailer, I saw like a Stormtrooper, Jedi, and Bounty Hunter, and I'm sure there'll be other classes. They announced a Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, so it's the first 3 games of the Ninja Gaiden games that came out. Those are getting like an HD re-release. Of course, everybody was waiting to see if there was going to be a huge Zelda announcement. There was not. They announced a Skyward Sword HD remaster that's coming out in the summer on July 16th. We got a slight update of Breath of the Wild 2. That was everybody's hope and dream. It's still in a smoothing development phase. We should have a better update on it later in the year. So I assume if they attend E3 this year, that's when we'll get it. If not, it'll probably be another Nintendo Direct type of deal. There's speculation that they're releasing a Nintendo Switch Pro. It will be the exclusive game for that console, which if they went that route would be a bummer. Why have a Switch, like the modern Switch?
I just want a Metroid game already, man.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They announced Metroid Prime 4 the year the Switch released that summer, and there has been nothing about that.
It's been radio silence.
That was the Nintendo Direct. Like I said, could have been an email, very uneventful, probably one of the worst gaming showcase presentations I've seen. Bam Margera was kicked off Jackass 4 due to his inability to maintain his sobriety and agreements with producers in regards to sobriety tests that he apparently agreed to and having therapy on site.
I'm sure everyone knows Bam has been having, a very tough time ever since the death of Ryan Dunn. Most of the Jackass guys have, but Bam specifically, I know he's been trying to get help for quite a while. He's actually been in our neck of the woods down in Southern California. He's been living up in Oceanside and seeing some shaman in Escondido. He had his Bentley or Maserati or something stolen, even though he let people drive it for him as he was charging his phone in a gas station. The dude's I feel awful for him. The dude's obviously going through some rough times.
Like his uncle.
Yeah, and like his dad too. It's
Don Vito.
Jackass, they helped Steve-O get through it, and I think they were trying to help Bam through it too with this, and it's just not sticking for him. The guy just unfortunately really needs help.
But to be quite honest, are we really surprised? Isn't the name of the show Jackass? He's only doing
yeah, but
it's
no, I know, but a lot of those dudes are sober now.
Yeah,
I just feel awful for the guy.
I can't say I'm shocked. We all watch Viva La Bam too, I'm sure. I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but if anybody were to have a hard time with this sort of thing, I could see it being Bam, because he was already kind of a party animal to begin with. He just gave off this vibe that he always had struggles. And I think, like you said, Patrick, with Ryan Dunn passing away, it just elevated that to an extreme where he's really digging down at the bottom of the barrel to find a way to be healthier. It's unfortunate. Wish him the best. I hope he can come back around, those guys.
I guess he must not be hurting for money that bad, because I'm sure that they were paying a pretty penny, because last time I checked, I want to say that these movies have brought in $500 million in total box office. So there's a lot of money to be made.
In his defense, I don't want to be fucked up too if I was getting a golden dildo shot up my ass.
New Justice League trailer, but this one's in color, and it shows the finished special effects. Steppenwolf looks completely different. It looks like a completely different movie, and we get a few surprises here and there, but it didn't really show us anything different except for the end, which is, of course, we saw Jared Leto as the Joker.
It's like a whole different movie, completely different narrative. We obviously got different characters in there. Martian Manhunter this time, hopefully a Green Lantern appearance. Maybe we'll even get some more in-depth storytelling of what actually happened to Robin. A whole Batman Joker reveal there, and we obviously get Darkseid. I think it's going to be a better film. I'm hoping so with all the hype, and I don't think the studio would put that much money into it if it wasn't going to be better. I think the only way is up compared to what a lot of DC has done.
Well, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't think it's going to be something where we're jumping back and forth between what Whedon had done and what this new Snyder cut is going to be. You're going to have like maybe 10% of like Whedon stuff in there, and the rest is just all Zack Snyder. I do know what Zack Snyder's track record is, and it's kind of, hit or miss, similar like when we were talking last week with M. Night Shyamalan. I've always liked the DC visual style more than the Marvel ones. As long as it looks good, it can't get any worse than what we've gotten so far with some of the DC movies.
I'm at the point where I just want to see the movie now. Like, I don't care about the trailers. I'm just going to go in with an open mind, and I just want to see what Zack did with it.
DCU dropped today that Sasha Calle is going to be Supergirl, the first Latina woman to be cast as a leading role. She's supposed to be featured in the Flash movie. There's already backlash I've been seeing all over social media that she's not white and blonde, which, Jesus.
Dude, seriously? We're still doing this?
Yeah. These comics were made in like the 1950s when everything was whitewashed and the white man made everything, and that's what it was supposed to be. But in 2021 America, as far as I'm concerned, all us Latinos are being called illegal aliens anyways. So it kind of makes sense that an alien from space would be a little darker. So fucking get over it. I believe they're going the Flashpoint route, so hopefully we get to see a black Superman. Let's get Michael B. Jordan into the DCEU.
Finally, you've heard us complain, you've heard us bitch and moan, but we finally got the Mortal Kombat trailer. But before the trailer, they started teasing us with some character posters. We got Sub-Zero, Kano, Melina, Kung Lao, Cole Young, which is the new character, Shang Tsung, Sonya Blade, Liu Kang, Raiden, Jax Briggs, and they close it out with Scorpion. Let's talk about these costumes first. Good Lord, they knocked it out of the park. They look phenomenal, especially the Scorpion one. I like the samurai influence to it, the very ancient feudal Japan look.
I loved the costumes. I thought everything looked really great, down to earth, but not too CGI and over the top. I really like Sub-Zero's look, and obviously they got Sub-Zero portrayed as the villain. Clearly he's representing Shang Tsung, which is pretty faithful to the video games, all the video game storylines. They're setting up the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero. You get to see Scorpion using his original chains. It was like the rope with the spear. We get to see how Jax lost his arms, and apparently in this version it's from Sub-Zero, and we got hella fatalities, which obviously they're staying true to the games, and it doesn't look like they're doing it over the top. I got hyped the minute I saw Scorpion's blood turned into a shank.
The famous blood dagger.
Yup.
This exceeded my expectations trailer-wise. It does have the potential to finally be a decent to very good video game adaptation in film. A lot of controversy is surrounding Cole Young, the new character. I think he's Sub-Zero's brother. Once Sub-Zero becomes Noob Saibot, which is inevitable, Cole's going to learn of his lineage, and he's going to be Sub-Zero too.
Honestly, God, this trailer delivered on everything that I wanted. I still don't really have expectations for the movie, but I'd be lying if I said that this trailer does not get me hyped up to actually want to sit down and watch this and give the creators the benefit of the doubt that they will actually be able to deliver possibly the best video game movie that we've seen adapted so far. They are sticking directly to the source material. I know there's backlash with how Melina, like with the teeth, with her look is, but I do not care.
Not only that, they're pissed that she's black and not Asian.
Like, seriously, like, give it a rest, guys. Like,
I don't understand what the big deal is.
Like, things will change from the source material. Overall, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I still don't think it's going to be a great movie, but it's going to be exactly what we want, which is fan service.
Apparently, this movie is supposed to be the stepping stone of a Mortal Kombat cinematic universe.
I better see Cabal, man. Fuck Johnny Cage. Let's get Cabal in here.
I saw somebody say, since it's not Ermac ripping off Jax's arms, I'm not watching the movie. Because I guess that's originally how he lost his arms or something. Everybody's also pissed Johnny Cage isn't in it. And it's like, I don't think you really need Johnny Cage. Like, you don't need him for this movie. In a sequel, yeah, sure. But for this, focus on the poster boys, which are Scorpion and Sub-Zero, because that's all the fans want.
Johnny Cage is the least interesting of all the 30 to 40 characters on that fucking list.
Also one of the most annoying, to be completely honest.
He really is. And who is it, the people that want Johnny Cages? The Johnny fucking Cages. Why aren't I represented in this, man? We're the nut shots.
Get some Zaw for Shaw.
Yeah, bro. Fuck you, Johnny Cage fans. He's a dick.
Some people were saying they wanted Ryan Reynolds for that role, but here's the problem. If you get somebody famous for Johnny Cage, it doesn't become Mortal Kombat movies anymore. It becomes the Johnny Cage movies, just like how X-Men became the Wolverine movies. Just calm down, everyone. We're getting Scorpion versus Sub-Zero in the fashion that we've always dreamed of, hopefully, and it's going to be great. So let's just focus on the positives. And I'm sure Melina will get her damn teeth. Just calm down. Calm down. John Carpenter recently said in an interview that the next Halloween movies may just come out through streaming, no theater release or limited theater release. And he did quote in saying the future movie theaters is very bleak. And we all saw this coming, I think, prior to COVID. Do we see movie theaters becoming this thing where it's going to be like our local AMC goes from 12 theaters to 4, and you see like just the big budget blockbusters like the Marvel movies, the DC, the Transformers, etc. Then everything else is on streaming for the 20 or $10? Or do we see the theater experience totally revitalized and we'll be back to where we were like 2 years ago, I guess?
I am in no rush to go back to the theater, to be completely honest. The only thing I can see myself going back are for those giant tentpole movies. And even that, it's going to have to be Star Wars. Like, I can't say that I would go for every single Marvel one anymore because I am such a huge fan of Star Wars. That is the only franchise that I can say, yeah, absolutely, I will go to the theater for that.
I'm with you, Pat, where I would be able to obviously decide which movies I would say I got to see that in the theater, like the Kong and Godzilla's. That won't be the case this year. But something like Dune, something that demands that big screen viewing.
Absolutely.
Like the Halloween movies, for example. Yeah, those are fun to see in the theater, but you know, when you really think about it, that'll be more fun with like friends and family when we can all gather again, have a horror movie night and watch all 3 of them. It's a bittersweet thing. You know, I think AMC will hopefully hold out. I don't know Regal's state of financial stability right now. I think of those 2 chains, AMC is the one that hangs on. The Landmark Theater chain, which is more independent, and Art House, they're hanging on pretty well too, because they're the only ones open right now.
I think the game's changing completely. The only movies that are going to survive or that will thrive are those big action blockbusters that people go into. And then as far as the movie theater goes, I think it's only going to be IMAX type of deal that survives. Because A, you got to worry about occupancy. B, you got to worry about getting people in there. Let's rewind 2 years ago. Those rom-coms, the dramas, and the indie films, they were never really even doing good to begin with. You would look at their box office bring-ins on the weekends. They would hardly make their budget, if at all. And then they'd be there for a week and then gone because Marvel or DC, Star Wars, or a Disney film was hogging all the proceeds. Just to think about the convenience now, humans are very adaptive. I really like watching movies in my home. The floor ain't sticky, the popcorn's cheaper.
Nobody's talking.
Yeah, and then there's not a half-hour line for me to go take a piss after. I rather go to those big blockbuster films where I want to watch it on IMAX and hear Dolby Digital sound, you know what I mean? Like, that makes it more of an experience, and you can actually plan it out for those movies you do want to do that. But I think that's a brilliant idea for Halloween and these slasher films, where just like you said, you could get your friends together, your family together, just have a horror movie marathon, which I think would be the best route to go to get people to watch them and then talk about them. And let's face it, this horror genre is definitely a cult following. Reviewers and the critics never like these movies. They hardly ever give a high rating or good words about horror movies. It's all for the fan service. So I think that's the best route for them to go. Wandavision, episode 7. A lot of questions were answered. A lot of big spoilers, so be prepared. The main thing that we found out this episode is one of the big bads, Agnes, aka Agatha Harkins. She is another witch in the MCU. Apparently been pulling a lot of the strings. We could tell from the past episodes that she knew a little bit more than she let on to know. Wanda was really comfortable using her magic around her. So everything kind of came full circle. We got the Modern Family feel of this episode, but we all know who the real starter was, The Office. Let's not forget who did that whole talking to the camera bit. Now, before we get all gung-ho on Modern Family, they just copied them and Parks and Rec. So suck it, Modern Family. It was a good episode. I wouldn't say it was the best one so far. A real filler episode so they can answer the questions we've had up until this point.
Overall, the episode was fine. I love Modern Family. It did not work in the WandaVision execution style for me. It just did not, I didn't think it really like transferred. Honestly, the performances just seemed kind of just awkward. So that kind of like took me out of the show, and I was just like waiting for like something to happen so that they can like get away from this, which the last, I'd say, 5-10 minutes they actually did. And that's when the show kind of picked up for me, or this episode, I should say. For me, it goes down to a 6 out of 10.
So I did some research after the Agatha Harkins reveal because I had no idea who that was. Other people online were losing their shit, but I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm so confused. Apparently, she is the mother of a character named Nicholas Scratch, who is another wizard. And apparently he is one of the predominant foes of the Fantastic Four. I think the show is further proving itself that it's going to be that pathway introducing the Fantastic Four in some capacity. You know, I agree with you, Patrick. The Modern Family execution just was kind of bland. The dialogue wasn't funny. What's interesting though is that like they seem to be going by sitcom by generation or decade since the 50s or 60s. So it makes you think of the last 2 episodes, they're completely abandoning that. So she's being taken down into a dungeon. There's no way out. And then getting into the post-credit scene, we see Commander Rambo snooping around Wanda's home, and she comes across the basement entrance on the outside. She opens it. She sees like that purple goo glowing around that Harkness has. And then creeping up behind her is Quicksilver. He says Snooper's going to snoop, and he knocks her out. And then it cuts to black. Shit's about to get real. I give it like a 6.5 out of 10. It was fine.
David, for what you know, how powerful is Agatha in the comics?
She's pretty powerful, man. Like, she's up there with Doctor Strange and with Scarlet Witch. So she's competition for them for sure. And then knowing MCU, if they're bringing in a villain, they're definitely going to make it pretty even. And especially at the end of the episode, hypnotized or mind control Wanda, when Wanda has always been the one to mind control people. Her powers are obviously boosted. I thought the most interesting thing out of this episode was the Nexus commercial. Nexus in Marvel Comics is actually a multi-dimensional gateway that leads to like other realities. So kind of like the Bifrost from Thor, where like it takes you to like a different universe. Like this is for like different realities, which is actually setting up for Doctor Strange into the multiverse. So that little commercial right there, when I saw that, I was like, oh, I see what they're doing right here. So I think these next 2 episodes hopefully ditch the sitcom vibes and like literally they're just WandaVision. Like I think, especially now that we saw how this episode ended, I think that whole alternate reality and like the jig is up pretty much, and it's gonna go just straight into what this show actually is and the core of what's happening. Once she went down in the basement to go find her kids, instantly, once again, I got American Horror Story vibes, freaking season 1 of The Basement. It's about to become a horror episode.
All right. So it is now time for our weekly recommends. As a caveat, I have not started the show yet. that I'm about to recommend to you guys, but because it is from the same producers of the show Dark on Netflix, Weidman and Berg, Tribes of Europa dropped on the 19th. It is their follow-up show. It looks like it could be the sequel to the show, although it's not. But basically, it takes place in 2070 something in the future, and something happens in like the 20s or 30s where humanity is basically fractured and goes back to their tribal roots, but it just has a more futuristic take on it. So this looks super interesting. It's got a little bit more English in it, it looks like, based off of the trailers. If it's anything like Dark, I know I'm going to get sucked in right away. Good looking sci-fi show, Tribes of Europa.
I watched this little indie movie, Shithouse.
Hopefully it's better than that.
Don't let the title throw you off. It stars and is directed by a guy named Cooper Raiff. And it's basically about this young man. He's on his freshman year of college, and he goes to a party at a frat house called the Shit House. And he meets this girl there, and they kind of form a drunken friendship over the course of the night. And they hook up together. And then the next morning, she just kind of distances herself from him and just is kind of like, I don't want anything to do with you, like go away kind of thing. And it's like a coming of age story. Superbad and Booksmart, those are like high school. This is kind of like that college version of that, but it's much more toned down on the comedy aspect. It's still funny. It still has its moments, but I never had that college experience. You guys did, obviously, but it was cathartic in a way where it's definitely a movie about finding yourself, and no matter like how far you are in life, you could be in college, you could be in your 40s. It was a neat little movie. It's called Shit House. You can rent it on Prime, Vudu, whatever it is y'all use. The most important recommend: Cobra Kai will never die, motherfuckers.
Can't do it.
I was a little skeptical at first. I had seen, bits and pieces of it, and then after 5 episodes, I was in. If you grew up with the Karate Kid movies, you will love this show, especially season 2 and 3. It just goes off the rails. You don't really need to watch the movies to refresh your mind. They do a very good job with that. Granted, it does have some cheese in there. It is, the target audience is kind of teenagers, so it has some dialogue where you're just like, ugh. It's good. It was a lot of fun. It's an easy watch. I finished it in like a week and a half. Team Miyagi all the way, though.
But, my weekly recommend is an album that just came out, and it's by one of my favorite artists, Tosh Sultana. She is an Australian singer, songwriter, musician. She composes all her music, does all her producing, writes all her songs. She's really psychedelic, indie rock, really soulful. She's got some funky ass beats. She's just got a great fucking voice. So if you're just looking for something to chill, relax to, have a good time, Tosh Sultana's Terra Firma. Enjoy.
If you guys like the show, want to keep in contact with us, you can follow us on our brand new Twitter account, the Nerd Herd of One. You can find me online on Twitter at CalXWinters if you want to talk to me, or not. That's fine too. So.
And don't forget to like and subscribe down there somewhere in the YouTubes. Just like and subscribe. We would enjoy for all of you to go along on our journey as we grow or don't grow. It doesn't matter. We're just having fun. So, and if you want to follow me, you can follow me on pretty much everything at Patrick_Carlos Z.
Drop a comment. Join the conversation.
We might respond. I don't know.
Probably not. I know I won't. I don't like talking to people.
It depends how busy we are, because we're grown-ass men with jobs too. So we'll see. Follow our Instagram, the.nerdherd. We post a lot of our photos on there, funny stories, what have you. And then thank you for watching us, guys. Like, subscribe, hit us up, give us some comments, let us know what we should talk about. What are you interested in, and what's going on your side of the world, you nerd?
And don't forget to rub that shiny bald head.
Professor X is all like, you don't understand your powers, so-and-so, come with me, I'll cure you. I'll use my mind, shine my bald, pet my shiny bald head. I'll cure you of your anger. Huh? So.
What did you just say?
That is getting a little too risque.
Mm-hmm.
Grant your wishes.
A nice little waxing. The nerds have been heard. Court is adjourned.
Bye.
Now get the
Live
fuck
long
out of
and
here.
prosper.